Living the high life, a management consultant, Brad Johnson was working long hours, travelling all over the world, having the best time. Now he leaves his flat, in his words, under exceptional circumstances.
I get very tired. I have to plan when I'm going, and it takes quite a lot actually to get me out the house. So it has to be something, a great event or something for me to leave. Because it's just so much more difficult and requires so much more planning.
8 years ago, at just 30 years old, Brad was diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis. It's a form of MS where the symptoms gradually worsen without remission.
When I was first going through the diagnosis, I just, that my friends had said you should go to a doctor because your legs, you complain they're feeling heavy, you're not walking very far. There are a few odd things like getting turned away from a department store as drunk, always seeming like the drunkest person at a party, that kind of thing. So I went to a doctor who, my GP immediately said, just stand still in a room and close your eyes. And I was shaking all over the place.
The cruelty is there are no treatments for more than 75,000 people in the UK affected by progressive MS.
So what we have here is an MRI scan.
But now there is a world first, the Octopus trial, comparing several potential treatments with a placebo. If they don't work, they can slot in other drugs. Multi-armed and multi-staged is how it's described.
What we're trying to do is test a number of promising medications at once against a comparator, but then they're given medication A or medication B or a dummy medication. So that's the multi-arm part of it. And then probably in about a year's time, we'll look at the MRI results of the initial group and see whether we carry on with all the medications, A or B, or whether we should drop some of those medications. That's the multi-stage part of it.
In multiple sclerosis, the protective coating around the nerve is stripped away. Patients are being given metformin, used in diabetes, which may help regeneration, and lipoic acid to control inflammation. This sort of trial has been used for cancer treatments and in COVID. It's faster. They're not developing a drug from the start, and if it looks like it's working, they can slot in other patients without starting a whole new trial.
There are 500 people with primary and secondary progressive MS on Octopus already, and it's open at 15 sites across the UK. There's been a huge response, you can imagine, from the MS community to join. There's a couple of thousand people on, on a list. They've registered their interest. We are trying to open sites across the UK to, increase the capacity for the trial.
Brad Johnson was one of the first recruits to the trial. He doesn't know what he's taking or whether it's working. Tell me why you wanted to take part in the Octopus trial.
It's partly selfish because I'd quite like to stop any progression, but also it's just there's so little time spent on MS generally, and especially the primary progressive side. I'd like people to have options and sort of treatments that can actually work.
And that is the advantage for him and others of this revolutionary trial. If one drug fails, they can try another. And it means there is at least some hope